So let's talk about pandas. Okay, we're not talking about the ones, the little black and white bears you see at the zoo. We're talking about the library for Python data analysis, and does some really neat things. It can keep data in a tabular format, so in a table format. When you think about tabular data, think about Excel. Okay, Excel is a tabular data format. So it can keep data in rows and columns that are meaningful. It helps with data cleaning and pre-processing, which are two bigger words for wrangling data. So cleaning up, you can have it autocomplete things with values. You can have it get rid of records that are incomplete. You can filter things. You can do all sorts of things. You can label and index your data, which is nice for understanding it. One of the big things Pandas does that Python doesn't really do in the same way is time series analysis. What does that mean? Well, if in Python let's say I have an integer variable that represents the date of the month. So let's say it's February. I have an integer variable that it represents the month. I have another integer variable that represents the days in the month. The problem with doing that in Python is that Python doesn't understand the idea of a month or a day or an hour. So it doesn't know, for example, that January has 31 days and that the day after January 31st is February 1st. It doesn't understand that in a leap year, February has 29 days instead of 28 days. So it can't calculate. You can't say, tell me the number of days between January 31st and July 7th. You can't, because it doesn't understand what that means. But Pandas does understand what that means. So if I want to say, what's the average number of students that walks through the front door of the BC library every hour? I can do that using Pandas because Pandas understands hours and what that means. So time series analysis is surprisingly useful because a lot of the data analysis that we do has times and dates and things involved with it. Pandas also plays really nicely with other libraries like visualization and other libraries in Python using some really standard data types. So it's really useful in that way. So Pandas, when it looks at data, it looks at things using this idea of a data frame. A data frame has columns and it has rows. And each row represents a record in the database. Each column represents a field or it's a specific type of data. That's abstract is difficult. Concrete is much easier. So this is a data frame. The data frame has an ID field that identifies the line number or the row number. You can see it has a name, an age, and a city. So looking at this, what city does Bob live in? San Francisco. Easy to tell because you understand at an intuitive level what tabular data is. Well, Pandas looks at everything like that. So if I want to say, rank these in order of their age from highest to lowest, I can do that like that. And it always keeps David and 40 in Chicago together because those things belong together. We intuitively know that, but Pandas also intuitively knows that, even though Python might not. So that is what tabular data looks like, and that's what allows us to do that. So let's play around with some tabular data and some basic Pandas ideas. So I'm going to import Pandas, and I'm going to shorten it to PD. And then I'm going to create this data here. You can see that's very similar data, if not the exact same data that we just looked at in the data frame. It is not a data frame yet. It's a nested dictionary. You probably recognize that. So if I print that, all I get as a result is that dictionary, the nested dictionary. It's not a data frame yet. Okay, so if I want to make a data frame, here's what I can do that's interesting. I can start a new cell down here. And notice, I'm not starting over. I'm not re-importing pandas. I'm not recreating the data. All I'm doing here is making reference to that variable that I created, that nested dictionary. And then I'm going to print that data frame, df data frame. So when I run this cell, it has an awareness of the cell above it that was executed. So those variable names, the import of pandas, it's all there. So when I run that, it's now created a data frame. And now I can do interesting things with that. Okay?